As you grow your practice, one of the things that you'll need are some good systems in place that will help you in automating your practice and making sure everything runs smoothly. TherapyNotes is the #1 provider of electronic health record systems for mental health providers. TherapyNotes has everything you need to manage patient records, schedule appointments, create rich documentation, and bill insurance right at your fingertips. Their streamlined software is accessible wherever and whenever you need it. So go check them out today, therapynotes.com. And if you use the coupon code Gordon, just GORDON, you can get your first 2 months free. So check them out today, therapynotes.com. This is the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, helping you to navigate your private practice journey. This is session number 124 of the Practice of Therapy podcast. Hello, folks. I'm Gordon Brewer. Glad you've joined me for the podcast. Hope you're doing okay. We're still in the middle of some strange times with the whole COVID-19 situation. I hope you've had a good Easter or Passover, if you've celebrated those things or observed those things. I know it's a significant time for me in my life and just with my church work and the things that we're doing. And it's been a strange year because we've done it all online this year and just been a crazy thing. And but anyway, hope you're faring well. I hope that this crisis we're in is tolerable for you, although I know for a lot of people at times it doesn't feel that way, but we will make it through. And I'm trying to focus on the positives that we're going to get out of all of this. And I think that's my hope. And that's, I think, what's going to happen. I just kind of know it will. And one of the things that's been great about this time, as strange as it is I've been able to connect with a lot of old friends. And even though that we're, not meeting in person, it's just been great in this online space to, like I said, reconnect with these people. And one of them is today that I'm so glad she's joining me again, and that's Jane Carter. Jane is a person that's near and dear to my heart. We have found that we have so much in common. Number one, she's an Episcopalian just like me, and we have a lot of church connections, just even though she lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm just literally over the mountain in Kingsport, Tennessee. We just have a lot of friends and a lot of connections in that area. But Jane is one of those people that just brings a lot of wisdom and just has a calm presence to her. And I just always love talking to Jane. And I think you're going to learn a lot from her today, and just thinking about how you can bring more meaning to your practice, because I think during this crisis time, we're trying to make sense out of things. And I think it's just a great theme, and it's got something that we're all working to do, of figuring out how we're going to make it through for those people that might be losing clients or not having as many people come in. But also it's a great opportunity to be creative and to be able to move yourself forward. So looking forward to you hearing from Jane in this episode. Before we get to Jane, I just wanted to remind everyone that one of the things that I'm doing here at the Practice of Therapy is during the month of April, particularly during this crisis time, is that I've got all of my courses on the Teachable platform, the Practice of Therapy, at half off. And if you'll use the coupon code, just Spring 2020, when you go to the checkout, you can get the courses at half price. And so I've got the G Suite for Therapists courses, which teaches you about how to use the tools of Google G Suite in your practice. And a lot of people aren't aware that you can use that and make it all HIPAA compliant. And it's Google is just, they're they're well known for all the things they offer, from Gmail to Google Calendar to Google Sheets, Google Docs, all the things that we might be familiar with, but you can really customize it to your practice. And so that's what that course is about. And then the other courses I've got available are the Money Matters and Private Practice course. And that is a course that's designed to teach you about the financial side of private practice. Again, something none of us really learned in graduate school. And so the business side of running a practice and the financial side of running a practice, that's what this course is about. And I was able to team up with my friend Julie Harris at Green Oak Accounting to put this course together, the premium version of this course. There's a basic version and then there's a premium version, but either one that you get, you can get that, again, half off during the month of April if you'll use the coupon code Spring 2020. And you can get to all those courses if you just go to practiceoftherapy.com to the homepage there, and there's a button at the top. You can push that button with your pointer and you can or click on that button, and that'll take you to the Teachable page where all those courses are housed. So hope you'll take advantage of that. And again, it's a way for me to just kind of pay back in a little way of just making those courses maybe a little more accessible to people during this time, because I know money is tight for a lot of people, and it's a great time to be learning stuff when you have that downtime during this period we're in with this whole virus thing that's going on, which I'm ready for it to leave us, but I think it's going to be around a while, unfortunately. So I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope that you're really putting things in place for yourself and your life to help you thrive during this time and really succeed. And that's what this podcast episode is about. That's the whole conversation I had with Jane. It's just about being able to thrive and survive during a crisis, and being able to really, we talk a lot about the meaning that this work does for us and brings to us. And I think for most of us, the reason that we're doing what we do in private practice, or as therapists or counselors or social workers, psychologists, is that we have a desire to help others. And so without further ado, here's my friend Jane Carter from Jane Carter Consulting and Jane Carter Coaching. I said that wrong, Jane. Jane Carter Coaching. So here's my friend Jane Carter. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Practice of Therapy podcast. And I'm so happy to have my good friend Jane with me today, Jane Carter, who is another fellow consultant in this space. And Jane has been on the podcast, I know, at least 2 times before. Well, if you count the roundtable we did, that's 3 times, Jane. Yeah, that's that's great. So
3rd time's the
Jane,
charm.
how are you?
I'm doing really well. I mean, I'm in the middle of this, like all of us, this really weird time, but all things considered, I'm doing really well.
Well, good. Yeah. And so, I wanted to reach out to Jane because she is such a calm presence with people, and she's just one of those people that just, I think, makes everyone feel at ease. And she just has a lot of wisdom on mindset and being able to think through problems in different ways and really getting our heads around things. And I thought this would be a great time for her to talk about some of the work she's doing right now with other therapists and counselors, just and some of the things that they're running up against in their practices. So, Jane, as I start with everyone, so for folks that maybe don't know who you are, tell folks about yourself and a little bit about your private practice journey and what you do.
Okay. So I am Jane Carter. I have Jane Carter Coaching, which is a coaching practice where I love helping solopreneurs, especially therapists, to have more fun and money and freedom in their businesses. And I really like to do that by focusing on strategy and mindset. I'm a pretty mindset-y coach. And I call it stealth therapy because there's so much overlap. I also have a private practice, a counseling practice here in Asheville. And, our businesses, they are here to grow us. And as I'm walking people through growing their private practices, there's so many parallels to our life challenges and struggles and growth areas. And so I love the work. It's just a different way to help people become who they're meant to be.
Right. And the thing I love about your approach is that we all bring our own stuff and our own crap to all of this. And I think a lot of us, got into this profession because we had a lot of self-work to do to begin with. And so that carries over into thinking about our business and our mindset. And so,
Absolutely. I we've all got the crap, and my job is to help you turn it into fertilizer.
Yes, there you go. I love
which
that.
is the work of what all of these therapists are doing, right? And what's so cool is that if you're intentional about it, the way you grow your business can be very healing of some of that deeper stuff without you even realizing it. Sometimes and sometimes it just, you go, oh, wait a second, I'm really confident because of all these steps I've taken in my business. So it's really fun. I love, it just feeds my soul to do this work, as I know you experience that. So.
Yes, it is. It's fun to be with people on this journey.
Yes.
So you've put together a checklist, I know, and you and I were talking about that. So why don't you just tell folks about that and kind of the three things that we were talking about before we started recording?
Yeah. Well, so my motto is imperfect action. So everything I do, I'm like, #imperfect action. And in sort of, I think a lot of us experienced, like right now we're recording this podcast during the coronavirus crisis where we're in lockdown, we're at home. I think a lot of people experience this kind of sudden, oh, this is a major crisis. And okay, what am I going to do? I jumped into action. The adrenaline rush came. I was like, how can I help people? How can I be using this moment? And so I put together a video series and I was like, I'm going to put it everywhere. And then I was looking at it later and I said, I'm exhausted. I know other people are exhausted. The adrenaline's starting to wear off. People don't have time to watch videos. They're trying to homeschool their kids and pivot their practices. So I just need to make a nice little checklist that's going to be helpful for people to go, all right, here's my mindset checklist, and here are my short-term strategies, and here are my long-term strategies. And I'll share it with your listeners, and
awesome.
we can talk about how to do that, at the end of the recording. But even as I typed it up, I said, oh gosh, I hope people don't take this as you've got to do all of these things, because I think a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed in this moment. So really my hope is that people mostly focus on their mindset right now. Because how we deal with this, this is a crisis, obviously, but we all have crises and problems that arise in our businesses. I can't remember which marketing guru it was who said, to be in business is just to constantly be dealing with the problems that come up.
Right.
So today I really thought, in addition to, some of the things on this checklist, address mindset, how to just kind of relax and reframe and use this moment. And some of it's to do stuff, but I really wanted to focus on sort of some of the bigger picture stuff right now.
So, as I think about mindset, I think one of the things that happens is and I tell this to my clients, I think this whole time is just filled with anxiety. And anxiety has a way of tricking us into thinking we can't handle things. And so I love this idea of we're not going to get it perfect. And our tendency, I think, is we want, like you said, check all the boxes and make sure we do it correctly. But I think it's more important just to have movement, even if it's small movement.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you want to say more about that?
Yeah.
That's
Well, I mean, anxiety and fear kind of makes us want to contract and get small and kind of maybe literally hide under the covers, but sort of emotionally contract. And it's like our world becomes very small. It's hard to see beyond, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? And sometimes we can get into that very reactive place. So the mindset piece, and the piece I'm trying to keep in mind and that I'm trying to remind people of, is to expand their view. So when I was thinking about the three main points I wanted to make today, one was, let's look at the big picture. The next one was, let's be intentional about this time. And the third one is to see the expansion in this time. Because again, fear and anxiety wants us to contract. And it's quite possible that this time wants to expand us. That some really amazing things could come out of this time.
Yeah.
Not to minimize that it's really challenging or that there are really bad things happening, but more, at the same time that we're facing these problems and that some bad things are happening, how can we see the expansion in this moment? And it's kind of funny. I was talking to Allison Pereira back in February. We were talking about an upcoming episode I was going to do of her podcast, and we were brainstorming what to talk about. And I said, I kind of want to talk about private practice as a tool for spiritual growth. And then we were like, that's a little too woo-woo and big picture. And here we are. And I'm like, oh, here we are. How we deal with our private practice in this moment really could be a tool for our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
In deepening who we are as people.
Right. So say more about that. Yeah.
So for instance, that first point I made, that we need to look at the big picture. Back in the day, I was a history major, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm never going to find a job. What was I thinking? But I've been so glad that I was a history major, because it's really helped me to look at the big picture and say, for most of human history, there have been kind of collective, community-wide existential crises every 20 years or so. And we've just been spoiled that we haven't really, even our wars have been far, far away. And so even going, oh, this is going to pass, right now for us, it just feels like, oh, this is the worst thing. And what am I going to do right now? And that contraction makes us just want to look at the now. The big picture is, this will pass. Every challenge throughout history has passed. This will pass. We are going to get through this. And so even just keeping that long view helps us to look at it kind of from a distance and go, okay, so what is my sense of purpose? Why, who am I in this? Who do I want to be in this crisis? When I look back on this moment in a couple of years, or in 10 years, or in 30 years, how do I want to say that I handled it or handled myself? And I think that's a spiritual thing, what kind of person do I want to be? Do I want to be a helper, or do I want to be the person knocking people out of the way to get the toilet paper?
Yeah.
The other piece of that is, do I want to make decisions from a place of love or from a place of fear?
Yes.
And when go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just, as you were saying that, I'm reminded of Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, and just the importance of finding meaning and purpose in life is really the key to happiness, if you will, or the key to contentment in life. And that's a theme that has resonated for me with clients. And just thinking, there was a quote. I'm paraphrasing the quote by Viktor Frankl, and that is if we don't have meaning in our life, we will substitute pleasure.
Yes.
And pleasure is good, but it's also empty. And so we need to have those meaningful things in our life, and brings us purpose.
Absolutely. And, when we're looking at the small picture and fear and all of that, it's easy to get into those thoughts of, well, how am I going to get money? How am I going to get clients? Is everyone going away? When we look at the big picture, it gives us space to go, what is the meaning of this work in my life?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be serving people? What's the best way to serve my clients right now? Why did I, there's a quote somewhere and I can't remember what it's from, but they said, there's a reason that you were born a human and not a chair.
Yes.
That on a spiritual level, we are here to fulfill our deepest purpose. And so when we go through a crisis where everything, our snow globe of life has just gotten shaken up, it's a really great opportunity to go, what's my why?
Yes, exactly.
That brings it not only reduces anxiety when you come from that place, but gosh, what a gift to recommit and realign with why you're doing this.
Yes. And that's something that's has resonated for me lately. I was telling Jane before we started recording, I'm a big I like Michael Hyatt's planner. I use the full focus planner that he produces, and it's divided up into quarters. And so one of the things that you do with that planner is you do like a quarterly review, and you start into this new quarter. And so I've changed planners. I started a new planner, and was just thinking back how different this quarter is. and just the fact that my priorities have changed because of the circumstances. But it's also caused me to go back, like you said, Jane, and look at my why and really kind of get more grounded in that because all this stuff that's happening now just feels like chaos, and it's hard to make sense out of, and you just get into survival mode. And so
absolutely,
lose that big picture.
Yep, we got to calm those limbic systems.
Yes.
And something occurred to me as you were talking too. I think another piece of this that really hits on kind of a deeper, we could call it spiritual. I know spiritual is such a triggering word for a lot of people, but again, we're not robots, and this is a really good moment to remember that.
Right.
Is that as a society, we've gotten so used to having control and being able to get any piece of information instantly at our fingertips with our technology. And there are a lot of unknowns with this moment. Just like with anyone in private practice, again, in other types of problem or crisis situations, you're sitting there facing unknowns, and we don't necessarily have a lot of tolerance for that. And one of the kind of silver linings I would say of this is that my hope is that it's going to develop our tolerance for mystery and for having that moment of realizing, okay, I'm not fully in control of everything. And who do I want to be in the face of that? And can I tolerate some mystery and maybe even celebrate that there are unknowns out there and that's okay.
Yes.
And isn't that something that we're trying to help our clients do too, is to sit with unknown and not being able to control everything.
Right. And really, it's, I'm reminded of a client I had earlier this month or whatever. And, just a person that was struggling with anxiety and, what I saw them doing was just trying to control stuff that was totally out of their control.
Right.
And all we can do is, do what they say, socially isolate, wash our hands, and,
figure out the things we can control. And then the flip side, and again, this is for our clients as well as for us therapists, is learning to just be with those feelings, to learn to be with the lack of control, to learn to be present with our grief and our fear and just kind of allow it and wear it like a backpack. Just kind of, okay, you're just here.
Learning to sit with it. Yeah.
And then I don't have to fight it so hard. And that kind of leads me into my next point, which is I want to encourage people to be intentional in this time.
Yeah.
And what that means is, again, figuring out, how do I want to use this time? Who do I want to be in this time? And that doesn't necessarily mean being super productive. I think at first I was like, we all have to use this time and there's so much you can do. And there is so much you can do. And if you want to go into productive mode, great. And if you want to, look at the checklist and start checking things off, great. But you can also be intentional about my goal for this time is to catch up on my reading and do nothing. I want to rest.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go easy on myself. It might be, your mission statement for this crisis is I want to get through this without yelling at my kids every day.
You're right. Right. Yeah.
So having an intention, it doesn't necessarily mean kind of frenetic goal setting. It might be my intention is to get a balance between doing some work and cooking food and going on walks and kind of reconnecting with the people in my life. It can be anything. Mm-hmm. But it's really good to be intentional about it. So you're not in that reactive space of this has happened to me and now I'm having to just learn how to react.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm wondering too, just about what you were talking about, the expansion piece in terms of being able to expand what we're doing.
Yeah. So, I'm going to zoom out and then I'm going to zoom in. So zooming out, I'm really in the big picture stuff today. So the big picture questions are things like, just giving yourself to creatively ask the question, what if it's possible that this is the greatest thing for my private practice? What if it's possible that just some amazing things come out of this? Opening that question then allows you to start seeing that. I encourage people to even get out a piece of paper, kind of get your inner critic and naysayer, put them away and just play with it. Like, what's possible? What if it's possible that really great things are going to come out of this? Some concrete ways to actually have good things come out of this. Just with your practice, this is a really great opportunity to do some of the things that you maybe haven't had time to do. Now, again, assuming you're not trying to homeschool 3 kids while cooking, while, seeing all your clients. It's a really great time to develop relationships and reconnect with your colleagues, with your referral sources, to reach out to your clients and just let them know that you care and that you're thinking about them. So this extended period of being at home, it really could be a time to deepen our relationships so that when things do come back to normal, our practices could go gangbusters later.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really great time to do the learning that you've wanted to do and maybe haven't had time for. I have stacks of books all over my house. So that's I love being surrounded by books, but I have books that I bought 2 years ago that I haven't read to become a better clinician.
Yes.
There are webinars. There are all kinds of cool courses out right now. I'm just using this time to be intentional about learning.
Right.
And this could be a time to create content ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that later on when if you're someone who blogs, you could have all your blog posts pre-written for the next 6 months to a year,
absolutely. Yeah.
So, really there are just some concrete ways to use this time. But again, that's not the same as me saying you got to just wring every bit out of this time as you possibly can. The expansion in this might be, if you are intentionally taking more time to reflect and go on walks, you might have some clarity of things you want to let go of in your practice. I've been tolerating this too much. I was talking to a client yesterday who said, because we're doing video calls, I'm realizing that, and everyone's stuck at home, I've been seeing clients during the day who normally insisted on having evening appointments. And she said, I don't like evening appointments and I'm not going to do them anymore after this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I said, well, yay. So this is what silver lining of this crisis.
Right. Well, it's I think all of this is, it's forcing, maybe force is a little too strong of a word, but it's maybe allowing us to be creative with things.
Oh, yeah.
We've had to absolutely think beyond the borders, outside the box, to use that cliche.
Yes.
Just in And and what's been fun to me is just there was something I saw on the Today Show that it's kind of my morning routine, drinking my coffee and
Uh-huh.
just settling into the day. And there was a guy that had made this video, and he was sitting next to a dryer, and it looked like an airplane thing. And he had a screen in the dryer, and he was, and it pans back, and you see it's in dryer, but he was just imagining flying on a plane somewhere. And it was just hilarious, and just
yeah.
But just being creative in those ways. And I think a lot of times I think we can get so stuck to doing it the correct way, to doing it the right way, that we don't give ourselves permission to think outside the box. I love one of the things too that I think is good to do every so often is do what I call a brain dump, where you just take all the ideas you've got and all the stuff that you've been thinking about that you want to do or have dreamed of doing or whatever, and just writing it down.
Totally.
And that way you can, and I think and again, I'm a big, I know Jane is this way too, but I mean, I'm a big fan of journaling and just being able to write things out, because I think it takes what is internal and puts it out in an external way, and it gives us a totally new perspective of it.
Absolutely. There's so much creativity coming out of this already.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of people have seen that on social media, just in general. I mean, there's a saying that creativity is born out of limitation, and we're in the ultimate moment of limitation.
Right.
And there's so for example, what that might look like in a private practice. I have a client who, kind of as a side thing on her business, where she specializes in body acceptance, she had a group going where people would come and kind of take the class and have some group processing. With this crisis, she said, I kind of need to make this the centerpiece of the work I'm doing. So we kind of talked through how to package that and sell that and have it be at an accessible price point for some of the people who couldn't do individual therapy. And she said, Jane, I love this. This is my favorite part of my practice.
Right.
So I really see that after this is going to continue being the center point of her practice.
Right.
And even for myself, in my initial kind of, the anthill has just been kicked over. I'm scrambling a little bit. In that moment, I was like, well, I have an online mastermind for my current clients. What if I made that kind of a centerpiece and made that into a membership program? And I've been playing with that, and I'm really excited about it. And I don't, we'll see.
Right.
But it was kind of an initially, I would say, a bit of a fear-based decision, which the more I'm focusing on it, the more excited I am about it.
Right.
So there's so many examples of creativity coming out of limitations. This is a totally non-therapy related one, but it's my favorite example of that. The movie Jaws. So the machine kept breaking down. The shark, the mechanical shark, was breaking down the whole time they were filming up until the end. So Steven Spielberg had to kind of rework everything. And they would just do these kind of shark's eye view shots, and they would just show the fin. And it was basically a couple of guys underwater with, fins. And so you didn't see the shark until the end. And once the actual shark worked and they were able to show it, all this buildup had happened. And so the audiences just lost their minds, and it became the blockbuster hit of the summer.
Right.
Because of the problem. Had people seen the shark from the beginning, it wouldn't have been as scary or mysterious. So you just don't know what good things are going to come out of the most annoying, horrible parts of this.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of people have heard this. That Chinese symbol of crisis is a combination of danger and opportunity, and so it's a dangerous opportunity.
It is a dangerous opportunity, and as people who, in general, we have a lot of privilege in our lives where we don't experience danger regularly. It's probably good for our souls to get a little jolt of that.
Right.
The danger, the mystery, again, but the opportunity and the ways that can expand us as professionals, as people, hopefully as family members. This is a really important and special time.
Well, it's been a total wake up call for most people to really examine what matters most.
Yeah.
In our lives.
Well, I know you and I both know Brian Cole, who's the Bishop of East Tennessee, and we're both dear friends with him. And the first time I encountered him, he was doing a sermon on. This was when the gas shortage happened. I don't know, 10 years ago or something. And I walked to the closest church, which happened to be his church, and I still go there. But anyway, he said he was talking about the word apocalypse and that it means the lifting of a veil. And so in a lot of ways, what we're going through right now in our kind of quote unquote current apocalypse is the veil is being lifted. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, it's kind of that awareness of our vulnerabilities. And that can be good. Viktor Frankl, like existential crises are a good thing. They get us realigned. And again, it's an opportunity for us to go, okay, well, what am I tolerating too much of? How do I need to get realigned with my original purpose and with who I am and who I'm bringing into my business, who am I bringing to my clients?
Yeah.
So apocalypse isn't necessarily bad.
Yeah.
That's my quote of, that's going to be my t-shirt.
Yes.
In addition to imperfect action.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's, and I think it brings us full circle around to just the thing you mentioned at the beginning here, Jane, was just really focusing in on your why, and your meaning and your purpose and your why. And just really taking this time to kind of realign everything that you do with that value, that purpose, those things. So,
and the caveat I'll add to that is do your why while moving forward, while taking imperfect action. Because I think even the danger of saying get clear on your why is that people can sort of get frozen in the navel gazing.
Yeah.
And first I have to figure that out perfectly. And then I'll take steps. But the forward movement, it gains our confidence. It increases our confidence. It helps us feel less despair when we're actually like moving forward, taking action, doing some things.
And our why evolves over time. That's
absolutely. Totally it does.
Well, Jane, I want to be respectful of your time, and I'm so glad we had this conversation. I knew it'd be a good one. And
we got into the juicy stuff today, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We got deep, which is good. That's good. So tell folks how they can get in touch with you and how they can get maybe check out your checklist and that sort of thing.
Well, my website is www.janecartercoaching.com. I really would invite people to just email me directly to get the checklist. I haven't uploaded it yet on a landing page and all of that. So feel free, email me with the subject line, imperfect action. Okay. And I will send you a copy of my checklist. And,
awesome.
And I just really appreciate the work that everyone's doing right now. If anything, I hope that this is a reminder that therapists are doing such important work and the world needs your work more than ever. Yeah. So good.
And that's exactly what I said. And the email I sent out yesterday to folks on my email list is right now we're needed. What we do is needed more than ever. And so I think that's important work. And
it is. It's sacred work.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. That could get me off on a whole other tangent.
Everyone pat yourself on the back right now, wherever you are.
Right.
If you're driving, raise your right hand, turn it backwards, and pat yourself on the back. You're working really hard. You're doing good work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, we'll have all of Jane's stuff in the show summary and show notes, so be easy to find. And Jane, so great to to connect again, even if it's just virtually, and we just need to spend a day together.
We need to eat at about 10 Asheville restaurants once they open up again, because there's so much good food. We'll just we'll revitalize the local economy between the two of us.
Yeah, you're talking my language now. Yeah. So sounds good. Well, Jane, take care, and I'm sure folks you'll be hearing from Jane again here on the podcast.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm so thankful that Jane was able to join me in this episode. She is such an inspiration to me, and again, she is just one of those people that just has a natural calming presence, and really her wisdom into things is just incredible. So again, thanks, Jane, for joining me on this. And so be sure to check out what Jane has over at Jane Carter Coaching, and you'll find the link here in the show notes, in the show summary, and be sure and go find out about Jane Carter and the things that she's got. And she'll be able to hook you up too with that checklist she was talking about, just around surviving and thriving in times of crisis. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more from Jane here in the future. So do check out our sponsor for today's podcast, TherapyNotes, therapynotes.com, and be sure to use the coupon code Gordon, just GORDON, and you can get 2 months of their services free. They are who I use in my practice, and they are really the top-notch electronic health record system with all the things that you need for your practice, and their support is the best around. And I know that was a conversation I had in my focus group just about the people that were using TherapyNotes, and just the reason that they switched to TherapyNotes is because of the support that they got from the people there on their staff. Also, be sure and take advantage of the half off sale, if you will, that's going on this month, in the month of April, for all of my courses on Teachable. And you can get those half off if you'll use the coupon code Spring 2020, and that will get you, when you go to checkout, use that coupon code and you'll get everything half off. And just take a look at those. Hopefully those would be helpful courses for you and help you learn some things that you didn't know. And so that's my whole purpose in putting stuff out there, is to give you resources and teach new stuff. So, well, folks, take care. And I do hope that you are staying healthy and safe. And we're going to get through all of this together, this crisis that we're in, with the whole world that is feeling it. I think my hope is that another month from now, we're going to be out of this, and we're going to be pulling up the bootstraps again and getting back on the horse. And so that's my hope. And I think I'm thankful for you for letting me into your ears, into your life, and joining me here on the podcast. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, and also leave us a review wherever you might be listening to it. I love getting the feedback, and also just hearing from folks. And then also, whenever you leave a review, it just helps boost the ratings of the podcast and gets us out there to more people. Kind of moves us up to the top of the line, so to speak. So, and I appreciate you for listening, and thank you for being here with me and joining me on this journey. So take care, folks. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you next week. You have been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer. Please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com for more information, resources, and tools to help you in starting, building, and growing your private practice. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive the free Private Practice Startup Guide at practiceoftherapy.com. The information in this podcast is intended to be accurate and authoritative concerning the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, or producers are rendering legal, accounting, or clinical advice. If you need a professional, you should find the right person for that.